All right, Diggsy, we're back. We're back. What's the title of the show, Diggsy? There it is.
Digging
For Wisdom. We're back again, season 3. And it's time to find out if these schools paid their electric bills and see if these daggone lights come on Thursday and Friday night, because it's week 1. And we're ready for some football. Are you ready for some football, Diggsy?
Oh, I feel like we've been on it. I mean, we've been taping these things, these district breakdowns, campfires, preview shows since April. I've been ready since then when we were talking about small schools and Argyle Liberty Christian and Gunner. We got that right and all that stuff. And now this week, and I didn't even know this until about 10 days ago, we're going to have Argyle Liberty Christian very early there. And Anna, week 1, bam, we're trading that Oakland, Tennessee team away. Argyle Liberty Christian did a little trade. It's this week. Everything is this week. It is the proving ground week. I'm excited, and I know nothing at the end of the day.
You know something. You got to know something or you wouldn't be here. You're the digging part and the wisdom part. You're both parts.
You're the wisdom part. I'm just here to give some educated guesses and to speak my mind, and we'll find out what happens. But every week, Ward, I was doing some research on week 1 and some prediction accuracy and things like that. Even the computer polls are only like 65 to 68% week 1 because you just don't know what you're going to see. I remember 10 years ago, like Newman Smith had not made the playoffs for like 12 years. We had heard a little rumbling that, they had a good scrimmage against Garland, and all of a sudden, they have a great week 1 and they make it to the third round of the playoffs. There's Walnut Grove last year was a team that we expected nothing out of. And all of a sudden we got a coach of the year. We got all kinds of stuff. There's always going to be those 2 to 4 surprises every year. And we don't know, we just don't know what we don't know. And that's why I am humbled by the fact that I know nothing at this point of the year, because there are so many surprises that are going to come out in the next few weeks.
It sure feels like a lot more teams this year are trying to figure out who their quarterback is too, but more than I usually remember. But maybe that's just me thinking it's more the big teams too. Like I heard last week, I had Booby Feaster on our show, and we were talking to his dad about, the Duncanville quarterbacks are going back and forth. And he said, not anymore. The one just left. It's going to be Maximus Denson. Now, I haven't verified this, but it's going to be Maximus Denson at quarterback, because the other guy left for Kimball because he lost out in the competition. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the word out on the street. So we're trying to figure out all sorts of stuff. But the main thing we're trying to figure out, which is our main story, is I want to let the people know what's going on with this year. Man, there's a lot different stuff going on with Inside High School Sports. A lot of exciting things going on with me and you and both of it. But the main thing is that we're going 52 weeks. Now, I talked about turning the lights on Thursday and Friday night. We usually shut the lights down after the state final in basketball, but that's not happening anymore. That show is going to go on for 52 weeks. It's going to be whatever you put in your Facebook posts. It's the never-ending traveling deal, whatever you say in those deals.
The road goes on forever, and the party never ends.
Is that right? We're going to be touching up on new sports that we don't normally talk about. We'd obviously be stupid if we didn't talk 75, 80% about football, because that's what rules the roost here in Texas and what people want to see. But we're going to be touching on volleyball. I was at a volleyball tournament just this past weekend at the Northwest ISD thing. After basketball ends, we're going to be into baseball, softball, golf, tennis. I've actually shot a golf story already. Off season, we're going to be heavy in 7-on-7. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And you know who's in the mix in volleyball this year?
Who's in the mix?
Plano East. Plano East is in the mix in volleyball this year. Had a tough 5-set loss to Allen to kind of start out district. But Allen, they won like a national tournament, and you took them 5. So we're going to take them 5 next time we play them at our house, and we're going to beat them. So watch out for those Eagles. And then you got Byron Nelson and Southlake are amazing volleyball teams, and man, we're going to be covering it all, and then we're going into the spring. It's going to be good in the spring, Ward. Plano East.
What sport?
Girls
Plano
basketball.
East what? Okay.
Girls basketball.
They do have Ariana Robinson. I was very excited to see him last year.
We're going to go baseball. If you remember, I hit a home run at the batting
home run derby. Exactly. So. Got the big stick out, and you know who jumped on the bandwagon is Pat Doney too, because his big Sunday night show that airs at 11 through Cowboy season. 52 weeks. They're also doing the 52 weeks thing. So we got set times on Sunday nights. If you're watching the show, we'll be on at 10 in the morning, Channel 5, and then again at 11:30 right after his show at 11. So these are set times. We're not going to be pushed. Well, the NFL is going to push us around that late one. But that's just the way it goes. But when we're out of NFL season, we're going to be there for you every week at 11:30, hitting all the different sports. And our warm-up this year, Dixie's in there. Have you not seen enough of Dixie? He's back. Him and Neil Beasley are going to be talking the season that's going to be, or the week that's coming up every Thursday morning, 11 a.m. They're going to be breaking down games as well. Different kind of version of breaking down games that we are. They'll probably be quicker to the draw than we are right now. Give you a short, condensed version of what's happening. I know you're excited about talking with the legend like Neil, right?
I think he's annoyed with me already, just because every time I just want to hear him talk. He's like, Diggs, you're the voice here. You got to talk. No, I want to hear you. You're the DQ guy. You're the country roads guy. You are a legend. I'm just a loud, a blowhard over here. I want to hear what he has to say, because he has so much experience, so much wisdom. He's been around the roads, all of the roads, the country roads. Yeah. I'm just so excited to get to work with him, and even if he's just queuing me up and throwing me the balls and I'm hitting them, I'm excited to get to work with him. Oh man, y'all got the contract negotiations out to give me a segment with him every week, because man, he is a legend, and you give me the legend.
And speaking about a legend, our own legend Diggs is dipping into the social media channels that all of us have already, but he's just now getting into it. Instagram, Dixie on Instagram.
Yeah.
Dixie
my
on
kids
Instagram.
are on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of people are on Instagram. It's crazy, and we talk about this kind of off air, and we'll pull back the curtain. This is our main story. We're pulling back the curtain.
Yeah.
I do something on Twitter, and it gets like 8 likes. And I'm like, oh, okay, look at that. I got 8 likes. I'm feeling like that. And you're over here like Diggs on Instagram. This thing's got like 10,000 engagements and 800 hearts and stuff. I'm like, I don't even know that we did anything on Instagram. And it seems like it's same thing with TikTok. You put that Richardson video up on TikTok, and there's like 27,000 views last time I looked on that Richardson post. And like it's crickets on Twitter. So I gotta branch out, Ward, because we got to go where the people are. The people, want to engage us, and I want to engage them. So if they're at Instagram and they're at TikTok, by gosh, Ward, that's where we got to go too.
Exactly.
Now the big show's already there. Obviously, y'all guys have been there for years now, but I got to go there. You got to go there. We got to get you on TikTok, Ward.
He's going to bring us. I don't know about TikTok. Isn't that for the kids?
You are the kids. You're young at heart.
We'll get in there at TikTok, and then that's not it, man. We're still branching out. It's just not enough to have Diggsy with us on a podcast that goes out Wednesday. The warm-up that goes out Thursday. We got to see him on Friday, too. We're breaking out a new show. We found an opening. It's almost like that Cowboys documentary. The offensive lineman opened up, found an opening, and Dixie and us are the Emmitt Smiths. We're going right through it. There's an opening on Friday nights, and we're going to do a recap show. It's going to be me, Diggs, Kenny Matthews. We're going to go through all the scores here in the DFW area. So when you guys are coming back from your games and you're thinking about how you either won or lost, and you finished having your Whataburger meal and you're getting back home, how did everybody else do? Well, look who's on your screen to tell you, man. You can get on TikTok, Instagram. You can get on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. It's going to be on all of them. We're going to go 30 minutes breaking down all the games, giving you all the scores. It's going to be a ticker running with every single score in there. And that's going to take you right up to midnight. That's when my man Diggs takes over with his in-depth analysis on the dunk. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I'm excited. And really, it's been a vision of mine for a while, because I've wanted to do a scoreboard show. I remember 8 to 10 years ago, we had Corbett and David Newberry. And then once David Newberry left, I know Corbett and Pat did a little thing on Facebook Live. And they did a great job, but they only hit the highlights. They wanted to talk about Highland Park and South Lake and Duncanville and the big games of the week. Ward, you know my heart. I want to talk about everybody, and I want to talk about some small schools. I want to annoy you and talk about Malakoff and Winsboro and Whitesboro and Pottsboro, all the boroughs. If you're a borough, we want to talk about you on the Friday night recap. And we did a test run last week, and it went great. Didn't get as many small schools. I'm going to have to start talking about small schools quicker. I'm going to have to become like that. What was that? Like the Micro Machines guy who can like talk really quickly or something, like an auctioneer.
Exactly.
I'm going to have to train to get through some of the small school scores because we've got so many teams and so many games that we want to talk about in just 30 minutes. And who knows? I've already been thinking about maybe I'm playing a week's games where they're on Thursday nights. So we've got 3 of them. Maybe we'll go an hour just for fun of it and get a coach on. We'll see. But it's going to be fun, and because we live in a world of AI-powered things these days, I can get a scoreboard generated in like 10 minutes now, and we can just get it up there and talk about it. But what we need is you. I'm looking right at the camera right now. What we need is you, the listener, because our scores are not going to be 100% accurate. Dave Campbell's messes up. Max Preps messes up. If you see your team, we have your team losing and they won, jump in there and correct us because we can correct these things on the fly. If you got a player who, if your kid or somebody on your team ran 250 yards, throw that out there. We will put it out there because we need you to let us know. It's going to be breaking news. It's going to be kind of an interaction between you, the community of high school football, and us. We got the microphones, but we need you. So I hope you kind of jump on with us. And I think that's what's going to make it great is that interactivity with you and us. And we're not going to ignore you. We're not going to just, get in our mode. If we see a comment, we're going to get it up there and we're going to talk about it. So I hope that with that interactivity, it's going to be something that is going to be memorable. And you never know, if Alonzo is on there throwing up that garbage about Anna, we may throw him on for about 1 minute. He gets about 1 minute.
We
got a tight format here.
Exactly.
But we have time to do some things at times. So I'm very excited to do this. I think it's going to be groundbreaking. And I'm not throwing any shade toward any statewide or show or anything because I think what they do is great. Anything that promotes high school football. But man, I love high school football, but Laredo football, I just don't get into like what Laredo South and Laredo United are doing right now. Maybe in week 11,
Veterans
week 12,
Memorial.
You get into that. I want to know what my DFW area schools are, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to give you, my version of DFW, so it might be a little bit too inclusive for Ward over here when we start talking about mineral wells and, Van. He's going to be like,
just keep my mouth shut and let you go.
Keep the mouth
and
shut.
We'll have the scores going at the bottom too. Like Dick said, if we happen to talk longer on one of the major upsets or something like that, you'll see your score come across. You can. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be about your kid anyway. You can go to a game and some kid blew your mind and JT Harris ran for 250 yards and it shocked you and you're like, hey, you were right about how fast he is, Diggs. Throw it in the comments. We'll throw up on this joint and it's gonna be great, man. I'm looking forward to it. For sure. Let's you want to talk some football? You want to talk some week 1 football?
I mean, I think we're ready. I think we sold us. We got 15 minutes of us, and Ward's going to get mad. We got sponsorship opportunities. Yeah. Email them. Email Ward if you want to email Ward. We can get you on there. It could be the something realty 66A district thing on there. You give Ward $5 and a Whataburger taquito. We'll talk about it. He likes his Whataburger taquitos.
Yeah, give me 2.
Just DoorDash it to Ward.
I got to wait to maintain. Give me 2 of those taquitos, please. Keep the sauces off that bad boy. All right, let's talk about some of these games. Let's start with Byron Nelson and Friendship. Byron Nelson had a rough offseason. They're having an interim coach in there, and Friendship's coming off of 3 straight great years. I mean, they've scored 45 points a game for the past 3 years. They have a consistent offense. And this year, Byron Nelson's got to go out there, I believe, right, instead of having them come through. So,
well, they're out in Abilene. I think they did Abilene both years. I think
okay, they're at Shotwell.
Meeting in the middle. And that's a 6 o'clock start. So we're probably going to have,
we'll definitely have that score. We'll definitely have that score on. It'll be in well ahead of time. But what do you think's going to happen in that one, man? Because that's going to be an emotional game for Byron Nelson, I would believe.
It's going to be an emotional game, but when I think of Byron Nelson, regardless of that stuff, regardless of the coaching and the intern thing. By the way, I like Coach Woodard over there. I think he's going to just take the interim off already. He's somebody kind of like with Gunner. It's just a natural progression. I mean, he knows that program inside and out. I'm sure the Northwest ISD athletic director would love them commenting on personnel decisions on my very first game here. We're talking about that. Get that interim off. Give him the name. My problem with Nelson is not that stuff. It's just I think the good classes have kind of subsided. I think Byron Nelson is taking a little bit of a step back. I think it's Trinity's time to jump into that number 2 spot, and I think that could serve for fuel for Byron Nelson. I think if they're going to get to that next level, it's going to be a gritty, culture-driven level versus the talent this year. Because when I look at the talent, there are some questions, and they had a couple of really good years of quarterbacks, and now the Almanzas are almost all grown up and going on to the next level. Yeah. So this game last year was a shootout. It was a situation where last minute, kind of a thing. I think Friendship is just a little bit better this year because Byron Nelson. Bless Byron Nelson's heart. How many people do you think from Trophy Club are going to Abilene at 6 p.m. on a Thursday?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think many.
Now, from what you know about West Texas and the Little Southwest Conference, how many of those parents?
All of them are going.
All of them.
They're all making the move.
It's really going to be kind of, I think Byron's going to have a home field deficit, even though it's a neutral game. I think Friendship's going to win this game. I think it's going to be a 1-score game until the fourth quarter, but I think Friendship's going to tack on that second touchdown late to win by 2 scores.
Pull that one out. That reminds me that volleyball tournament I went to last week was at Byron Nelson's, one of the sites. And they play those games during the day, Thursday and Friday. So I don't know what kind of schoolwork's going on in Byron Nelson. They got to take off to go to football. They got to take off for volleyball, but I'm sure they get caught up on it. There's some smart kids out there, Trophy Club. Let's talk about another Thursday game because for me, Marcus and Keller missed out on the postseason. They want to get back in there. And Marcus, I think he's a junior. This is year for Colton Nussmeier to take the next step. The show me a little bit more accuracy. And maybe we start right here on Thursday night. He was a little hit or miss last year at the games that I was at. Maybe underthrew a little more than he wanted to. This is his time to kind of step up here and say, hey, I have that Nussmeier name. You don't worry about Garrett over there at LSU. Yeah, I know he's going to the NFL, but maybe I'm going there too.
This is such a fascinating game because there are so many questions. We've got Marcus slotted in our number 5 spot. And we talked about that their range was really 4 to 6 in their district. And Keller, we've got them in the 4th spot. And we kind of talked about that they're probably the max end is 4 for them, but they could easily slide down 5 or 6. So these are 2 evenly matched teams that are going to be fighting for playoff spots that have questions, have questions about depth, have questions about what is going to be returning. And this is our first glance into them. And I just think Marcus has a little bit more depth in general from what we've seen. I think Keller is a more likely playoff team. I think it's going to be close. One of the computer polls I saw already has this as a pick 'em. When we're in week 1 and they're throwing up their hands and say we can't really know what to do, it is a pure pick 'em. It might be one of the best talent-wise games. If you like competitive games on Thursday night, maybe one of the best games to go see. But man, when I look at those games that are pick-ems, I look at who's the best player on the field. And you just spent 30 seconds talking about who should be the best player on the field. And I think Nussmeier is going to have a fourth quarter drive and win it for them in a fun first game. And his legacy is going to grow, I think, on a 1-point kind of a game. I think Marcus wins after Nussmeier leads them on the fourth quarter drive.
Well, if you're saying that one's possibly the best Thursday night game, I think this one's maybe even be the best game of the week just because of, we threw out our top 5 list of top 5 running backs. If you guys saw that last week, number 2 was Davian Gross, and the other 2 were sandwiched between Forney and Lake Highlands. Gross probably is not even playing running back this year. He's going to probably play receiver. So that pushes him back up to 1 and 2 going at it week 1. Maybe we got a 2.5-hour game if they run the whole day. But you're going to go to this one, right? You're going to head down to the Boneyard?
I'm going to go down to the Boneyard. And this game is because last year we didn't know what to expect out of it. I thought Forney was just going to blow out Lake Highlands. And we kind of got 2 indicators out of this game. We got an indicator that Lake Highlands was going to be much better than we thought. And we got our first signs that Forney, because I think I had them preseason top 10 last year. Maybe we need to kind of pull back a little bit on that. And, I kept getting feedback. Oh, well, Lake Highlands, they got really good linebackers. They got really good depth. I'm just sleeping on Lake Highlands. But then you and I got to see the next week Flower Mound, beat them. And I know it's because Christian Rhodes got hurt and I was a part of it. But still, Flower Mound last year, even though they had some young kids, they had to deal with injuries as well. And they struggled with depth issues. So Lake Highlands, in a regional perspective, has a lot more questions for me than Forney. I think on paper, this is a great game, but this is a game I could also see if Forney is taking that next step. Forney could go in there and blow them out. I mean, I could, when I'm looking at all the possible outcomes, Lake Highlands, I think, could win this game by a touchdown, but I could see Forney winning this game by 3 touchdowns. So that, when I kind of look at my analysis, I think Forney, they got Peterson at quarterback. They got, the really talented wide receiver. They got a couple of pieces on defense that are really good. I think where Lake Highlands is then going to excel when you look at the matchups is I think Lake Highlands is going to have 7 to 8 to 9 yards a run. I think they're going to be able to push him around, but I think Forney is going to be able to make a key third down stop with a talented player who can make an individual play. I don't know that Lake Highlands is going to be able to match them blow for blow. So I got Forney winning this game by 10. That's why I was thinking Marcus and Keller, even though this game on paper has got the bigger names. It's got a lot of big names. I think Keller and Marcus may be that fourth quarter go down to the last minute. I think Forney has a good opportunity to go in there and make a statement. And I know Fleener listens to this podcast, and I know a lot of the good people in Forney on both sides of the south side and the north side listen to this, and they do not like the disrespect that we throw to Forney. And I think in week 1, they're going to look to make an impact. And I think that might be at Lake Highlands' behest.
I know you kind of behest. What kind of words you're using here, man? I can't. Let me get a dictionary before I continue this stuff.
It's the first week of college too, Ward. I'm getting all my games going out.
All right, well, don't hit me with behest anymore. I'm trying to survive in this podcast, and you're throwing that stuff. I bequeath you to. Anyway, if Forney wins, we already were scratching our heads about 10-6A anyway, because that seems like there's a lot of talented teams in there. Say Forney, you say by 10. Say they win by 20. Then we're really going to be – I'm going to be balder than I already am at the top of the spot because I won't know what the heck's going on, and that's a 7-team district. They won't even start going at each other for 4 weeks into the season, week 5. So that should be an interesting one. There's another interesting one, Irving MacArthur and Pascal. You talk about this game because these two guys have gray areas. These two teams have gray areas. They could make a run at a postseason spot, but we don't quite know. If one of these teams kind of steps out and stomps out the other one, well, then we're like, okay, especially with Pascal, you've already got them in the postseason in your preseason predictions. If they stomp out MacArthur, you're like, okay, then I'm definitely going to put them in.
Yeah, and maybe that game against Arlington Heights is a 1-2 game for the district championship all of a sudden. And MacArthur is a team, we talked about it in our district breakdown. You heard a lot of good things about some of their DBs and 7-on-7 season. They got a coach's son, Beck Nicholas, who's kind of just an everything utility knife for them. There are a lot of things I like about Irving MacArthur, and Richardson Pierce is taking a step back. Richardson Berkner has some questions. So there is a pathway I could see Irving MacArthur finding its way into the playoffs when most people are not picking them. I'm not picking them either, by the way. I'm hedging my bets in a way, but I can see the path. And I think it's got to start from week 1. And same thing with Pascal. Pascal finally made the playoffs last year. They got, thumped in the first round, as just about everybody in that district did. But they made it. And when you make it, that gives you that confidence that you're taking the next step. This is a great district for them. This is one of those games that I'm going to be really digging in the box score when the game comes out, because there's so much data we can get from this. But 6A versus 5A and the players I've already seen, I'm taking MacArthur to be more likely to make that surprise. But I think Pascal is going to give us enough hope that maybe we can say both things, that Irving MacArthur is ready to take that next step, and maybe Pascal is ready to go to that number 2 spot in that district. I think Arlington Heights is a solid number 1 in that district. But number 2, with Chisholm Trail losing their coach, with Saginaw losing their coach, there's a lot of questions. O.D. Wyatt lost their best player. Yeah. So it is, it's there to be for the taking.
It's exactly. That's going to be one that goes down to the wire to see who those 4 teams are. We got McKinney North against Wiley East. Before we got on here, I just saw the uniforms that Wiley East is going to be wearing, those powder blue joints, and I'm like, yo, that's because I saw them against DeSoto wearing them. Coach Gold, lollipop season is going to be out. He'll have the lollipop in his mouth trying to get that win over McKinney North. And you kind of bumped McKinney North out of the postseason in 5-5A in your preseason predictions. Could that a competitive game here, or maybe an upset win for him, change your mind?
It would absolutely change my mind. And last year, even though they didn't win this game, they showed us something in this game. You know, all of a sudden we got introduced to Greg Ard. We didn't know who Greg Ard was coming into the offseason. And now all of a sudden we've got this running back who can put up, 150, 200 yards against a really good defense in Wiley East. Wiley East has got a lot of questions as well. I think within their district, they're a really good team, but regionally, how good is Wiley East? And Wiley East has been making some waves on the social media. They're poking a lot of bears that are in other districts other than their own right now. So Wiley East is feeling kind of proud about themselves in many ways. And I like that confidence. I like them going out there and poking at Plano East a little bit and poking at Saxe and poking at some other teams. They had a scrimmage against Roy City, and they were kind of talking about Roy City on their social media pages as well. They're a little bit loud, and I think they're getting that attitude from Coach Gold, who is like, hey, let's take on the world, because district may not be so fun when we're playing South Garland and Rowlett and some of those things. So let's get out there and show some personality and show that we've regionally arrived. I think they're a favorite in this game, but I feel like they could get exposed in this game, even though they could win this game with maybe not having the depth and the offensive talent. And McKinney North may have an opportunity to make a statement. But if this game all of a sudden is like 48-0, like some of the games against Berkner was a couple of years ago, I think we might get two answers that Wiley East has arrived and McKinney North, time to sell that stock.
Time to drop down a little bit, even more in the standings. Hey, this next game, North Crowley and Lancaster, you need to get out there early because North Crowley is going to be doing a celebration of their championship before the game starts. It's at Crowley ISD. Last year we saw it at a neutral site, and it was a dogfight. With all the emotions that's going to be out there for North Crowley, I would sure hope they would be able to pull this one off by 10-14. But you let me know what you think about this one.
This is one of the games we talked about with Neil, and I haven't changed my mind on it much since talking with Neil about it, because I think when you look at we have the known knowns and we have the known unknowns, and then we kind of have the unknown unknowns. It's kind of the Johari window, if you want me to use some psychology terms on you. Sometimes you know what you know, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
You're making people smart today, buddy boy.
I feel like with North Crowley, there's a lot that we don't know what we don't know. I mean, on paper, it's Coach Gates and there's players coming back, and we use the line of what they bring back and how many reps they got in blowout games, but Lancaster brings back more knowns than North Crowley does, because North Crowley got their quarterback disqualified, so we don't know what the quarterback's going to look like. The running backs, we see some glimpses there, but what do we got there? Wide receiver, Demarion Mays transferred over. We saw what he did in 3A. What's he going to do in 6A? I think there are some questions there. Whereas Lancaster, Isaiah Lee, you talked about our top 5 running backs.
He broke out in that North Crowley game. He broke out last year in that game.
And they got another running back who's right there with him. Quarterback, C.J. Daughtry, if he in fact is the starter, we saw what he did against Cedar Hill last year and throwing up 56 against them and putting their nail in the coffin. Even some of the DBs over there, even though the ones that haven't transferred over to Duncanville, there are a lot of knowns for Lancaster that I'm excited to see perform. But North Crowley, as the defending 6A champions, I think the unknown knowns for North Crowley are going to be a little bit better at home. Week 1, it's going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to look very similar to the way it looked last year. I got North Crowley, but by 1 score. And I know is a very loud contingent of people in Lancaster that think they can win that game. And I think that speaks to what they've got over there.
Yeah, that will show something. If that happens, we'll be talking about that right off the bat next podcast. So get ready for podcast number 2, because that'll be a doozy. Let's talk about Emerson against McKinney, because Emerson's head coach moved on to Plano ISD, Kendall Miller. He's now rocking the athletics over there at Plano ISD. McKinney, I kind of gazed through their roster after Riley Pettijohn left. I think his two cousins are gone too. Is that true? Or they went somewhere else? Where are they at?
I think they traveled right up 75, up to that 4-letter name that loves welcoming all of the transfers in Anna right now. Okay. That's just what happens. You go north. It's that northern influx of hey, it's cheaper up there. They got some new communities going on over there. They got the Buc-ee's over there. So, McKinney doesn't have a Buc-ee's.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But Melissa gets to, claim the Buc-ee's. But this game was you and I. That's how we started last year. And it seems like McKinney, either of the players that were supposed to come back last year or the players in the offseason, the roster is completely overhauled. If you want to see the quarterback we saw last year in this game, you got to go to Allen to see that one. And then Emerson, they've got some pieces that are coming back. And a lot of people are telling me that their quarterback is highly underrated. So I'm excited to see that. This is a lightning rod game for both of them because both these teams have so many questions. It's a little bit of an upset for me, but I think Frisco Emerson's going to find a way to win this game because McKinney just doesn't feel like they have the depth that they need to right now because of the transfers, because of the graduation. They graduated heavy too. And even though this is going to be year 2 of Coach Leonard and his culture is going to be better, but the players are not. And at some point you talk about the X's and O's and the Jimmies and Joes. The Jimmies and Joes have left. So I think that's going to be a struggle for McKinney. I think Emerson's going to have enough in this game. So I like Emerson. It's not going to be this could be like a 10-7 game. So don't go expecting highlights, but you could go expecting a hard-fought competitive game, and I think that's what you're going to get.
Sometimes there's fun to be at too. There's 3 and outs all night long. You don't like them, but some do. Oh, you like this one. I mean, you've got to scout them out, right? You've already scouted out Plano East. We know Royce City is a young team. They're finally bringing up some of these guys from the JV that were so successful. This ought to be interesting. They're coming to your neck of the woods, so you won't be late for the Friday night recap. You'll be right on time, rocking right on time.
Last year, one of the fun things that we got to deal with in looking at the podcast is we had some dream matchups of games you wouldn't expect. Like we had Gunner and Salina. We had Gunner playing Anna. Just see some of these big schools playing small schools. And, I thought Gunner could play with them, and they couldn't. You could really see the difference in the size of the schools in those games. And the point I'm trying to make with this is, this is like Royce City has an all-star team of freshmen coming on, but their JVs and their varsity last year and the players they have coming back were not great. In a year or two, Royce City is going to be really good. So the unknown is how good are they going to be in week 1 of their varsity campaign on the road. And I think that's the edge of what I'm giving Plano East for, because Plano East is really good at home. They got year 4 of that culture of Coach Benedetto. And I just think those young kids, the lights might be a little bit too big for them. I think Plano East is going to win this game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a much more competitive game. Plano East won this game by 4 touchdowns last year. But at the same time as I think Plano East is going to win, this is a Royce City. This is their stage to show, because you talked about 10-6A and how that district is 6 deep. This is Royce City's chance to show that they can be on that stage. So it's going to be a tough one. I think Royce City could win this game and not diminish Plano East's playoff opportunities just because of how good Royce City has the potential to be. We don't know how good 8 D1 sophomores makes the team. We're about to find out.
We will find out. We'll find out soon enough. That's for sure. Here's a nice one from last year that they're redoing this year before realignment probably breaks this game up. But Prosper and Austin Westlake, we talked ad nauseum about the O-line there at Prosper, but they're going to get a test right now with the state runner-ups in Austin Westlake.
Austin Westlake last year won this game, but it was a close game up till they pulled away in the 4th quarter. And I think that's what's going to happen this year. I think, you look at the halftime score, you're going to be like, okay, here we got Prosper. But I think Austin Westlake is just going to wear them out. It is a fun game because both these teams are so well coached. They're going to have similar kinds of kids, similar kinds of returning kids. But I think Austin Westlake just across the board is going to have a little bit more depth because of all of the teams in the state, maybe Allen and maybe Westlake can compete with the offensive lines with Prosper. So
right.
How good is Prosper's defensive line going to be against Austin Westlake's offensive line? We know Prosper lost their best piece on the defensive line. So how good is their depth going to be? I think this is going to be one of those games that's going to be in the sevens. What I mean by that, you're not going to see field goals. You're going to see like a 42-28, 42-35 game where they trade touchdowns, but eventually Austin Westlake finally makes that stop and wears them down in the fourth quarter and kind of wins a 42-28, 48-35 game, or 42-35 game if Prosper can get a late score for window dressing. But I think Westlake is the team to watch. I think Westlake wins this game by 1 or 2 scores, depending how fourth quarter management goes.
And that one's going to be at Mary Hardin Baylor. You mentioned the injury, Jack Johnson. It's going to wind up being one of these deals where he's going to be on our TVs on Saturday. It's playing college football, where they're going to say, yeah, he's from the North Texas area. And everybody's going to scour to find out what high school we went to, and it's going to say Prosper. And we're like, I don't remember him, Prosper. It's because the poor kid's been hurt just about his whole career. I hate that for these kids that are uber talented, for kids in general, but uber talented like that, and not being able to play his junior, now his senior year. It's been a tough break for Jack, but let's move on to your upset pick, or at least upset watch. I'm not going to say you're picking them, but you've mentioned this several times now because Marcus Flowers is throwing that ball around over there at Princeton, and they're taking on a West Mesquite team that went through undefeated last year during the regular season. Tell me why this is on your upset watch.
One that we talked about this in the 6-6A district breakdown, Princeton is going to be better than they were last year. They just have too much talent. I was talking to a 6-6A coach talking about how Princeton made 7-on-7 this year. They're starting to show the depth. And that for me, the thing that Princeton just doesn't have, which is why I think they're going to struggle in 6-6A, is that the offensive and defensive line. I think their skill players are going to be great. They're going to surprise some people this year. Last year, they were losing these games by 3-4 touchdowns. I think they're going to be at all of them. I think they're going to be fourth quarter dogfights, and they may even get 1 or 2 of those games depending on injuries and how healthy they can stay. But Princeton just doesn't have the depth. I mean, they go from 5A Division II. That was their last realignment, was 5A Division II. Bypass 5A Division I, go into the biggest 6A district in the state. With 7,000 student Allen, 5,000 student Allen, or Plano West and Plano East. Plano's even down to 4,500, but they're still twice as big as Princeton. Right. Whereas West Mesquite, they've got question marks. And I think that this game, I saw a couple of the computer polls have West Mesquite by like 30. And this is because they think Princeton is same old Princeton, West Mesquite coming back from last year. I'm not going to take Princeton in the upset, but this is a much closer game. If Princeton can win the turnover battle, they win this game. I just don't think they're going to win the turnover battle in week 1. I think it's going to be even, but they got to win the turnover battle. If they can win the turnover battle in West Mesquite, because they just want to run the ball, it's hard to force turnovers against them, and that's why it's going to be hard. They're going to have to hope for a QB making a boneheaded play or something to get that +1 on them, because West Mesquite, from what I saw last year, just doesn't make many mistakes because of the way their offense is called. But man, this game is going to be a fun one. I'm looking for like a 35-28 kind of a West Mesquite win. But I think through this game, we're going to see 2 things. West Mesquite's not as good as they think they are, and Princeton's much better than we think they are.
Excellent. That's going to be one that I want to keep my eye on for sure. We'll definitely be talking about that on the Friday night show. Sounds like you're challenging my man Steven Jackson to keep that, because he came up second for Coach of the Year last year. We're going to challenge to see if he can keep it going here. All right, let's move on to the next one. Arlington Bowie, Flower Mound. I believe this is on here because I believe if Flower Mound was in the Arlington district, you may be challenging for a playoff spot there, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking? And Bowie
Flower Mound won this game last year. So this is a situation where I want to see the 2 things. I want to see how Arlington Bowie is going to be able to bring back their kids and what they've got coming back, and Flower Mound losing their quarterback. How are they going to be able to react from that? I think Bowie is going to win this game, but a much closer game than I think Bowie is fine. Last year, I think this game was 50-48, if I remember right, or maybe that was the Keller game or something. It was just a one-score game. I think Bowie is going to win that one-score game this year. But through that, I think we're going to see that Flower Mound is still Coach Basil's Flower Mound that we expect. A hard-nosed, gritty team that is very resilient. And I think Arlington Bowie in week 1, this is the time for Flower Mound to repeat what they did last year. I think Flower Mound is going to come into this game ready, prepared, knowing that they can win because they won last year. I think they're going to come into it strong, but I think Bowie is just going to have a little bit more talent, especially given that Flower Mound lost their quarterback. And there's still questions about who's going to be stepping up and who's going to fill in that role. But Bowie's just got more 1 to 15. I think I always give the metaphor award if we're going to back school, backyard pick 'em. I think maybe Flower Mound would get Evers. In first 15 picks, Evers would go, but the next 13 to 14 guys would all be Bowie kids. And I think it's going to be that depth that's going to help Bowie win this game.
Well, I'm taking Carter Massey, one of the first 2 or 3, so maybe not all of them going to Bowie. All right, let's talk about Rockwell Heath and Highland Park. Boy, that was fireworks last year when that thing started off on Thursday night. There's kick returns for 6. There's 90-yard pick sixes. Man, and Webb's got the team going there at Heath, but it's a different story when you got to roll into Highland Park. First, you got to find – well, actually, they got a parking deck now. You don't have to find parking as hard as you used to. But second of all, that is a significant home field advantage. I don't know if it's going to be as much fireworks at the beginning as it was before, but it should be a fun game.
I got to watch Highland Park in the scrimmage, and they didn't play Buck and Connor Bozeman and a few other their players. But they, the one thing that really stood out to me for Highland Park, and I think this is kind of the regional idea, is their offensive line was not the offensive line that I remember in the past from Highland Park, and that worries me a little bit. I think they're going to have some of the skill players are looking great. The defense looks very, very good. They pretty much shut down a Plano East squad that is highly explosive. I mean, Plano East put up 40-50 several times last year. And like you said, this game is at Highlander. What Rockwell Heath, I think the advantage that they can do from what I saw in the scrimmage is I think Heath's defensive line is going to be able to put pressure on Buck and going to be able to maybe make some turnovers because of that mismatch. But there are so many unknowns. But at home, that's the thing, at home. If this were at Wilkerson Sanders, I think I'd go for the upset pick. But Highland Park is going to have that comfort level at home. This is their second straight home game because they got to scrimmage Plano East at home. They're going to have that comfort level. Coach Webb's going to have something up his sleeve, but, Coach Allen's going to have something up his sleeve as well. Highland Park by 3.
By 3. All right. Well, here's a game that both of us will be at. It's on Saturday. I know most of the people watching this will be watching Texas-Ohio State, but we'll be at the Star watching the Jerry Jones Classic. 2 historically great schools, Odessa Permian, who's bringing in, Gavin Black, who ran for 2,400 yards last year in their traditional good mojo offense. Plano's coming in there. Jerry Jones should be there because he's not working on contract talks with Michael Parsons. He has nothing else to do. So he's going to be there flipping the coin. Sweet Saturday game at the Star. What do you think about this one, Diggsy?
Last year, this game was bowling shoe ugly. I think it was like 10-0 or something out in West Texas. And Plano just could not get their footing in this game. And their defense was up to the task, but their offense just couldn't get any momentum. And I think one of the things that is going to matter in this game, it's just the psychology of the kids. Plano is going to pack out the Star. Plano is going to bring their tradition. This is a rare Saturday game. Getting to see Mojo having to come out here. It's going to be on TV. It's the Jerry Jones Classic. Permian, they'll bring their 500 to 1,000 diehard fans, but that place is going to be ugly maroon. I hate maroon from A&M and Plano. Just don't like it. And Plano is going to have momentum. They're going to have a fired up crowd. And the Star, when it gets loud, it can be really, mind-numbingly loud in there. And Plano is going to bring that. And I think when you bring that energy to what Plano has coming back, the momentum that they got on 7-on-7, I think Plano is the favorite in this game. I think Permian's going to have to use that running game that you talked about to take the air out of that. They're going to have to take the air out early because if Plano can keep that momentum with that crowd, I think they're just going to be on a momentum wave. We have seen momentum waves completely change games at the Star before. I mean, I just think last year, 2 years ago, and then Panther Creek a couple of years ago, and then the Wakeland and Lone Star game. I mean, just some crazy things can happen at the Star. So I think Plano is going to be the beneficiary of that.
Yep. There's a maroon that you should like. Left hand up. Commanders. All right.
They're not even maroon. Aren't they like crimson,
the maroon
burgundy red or something?
Pants are maroon. All right. Whataburger game of the week. Lone Star Argyle. Talked to Todd Rogers last week, and he gave me all kinds of coach speak that he's got no chance in this one. But we know he's playing games with me. He did say Watson Bell's a little dinged up, so we'll have to see how he is. But they still got Gasperson, who got more experience than he thought he was going to get when he played so much his sophomore year. He's got Julian Caldwell, but Lone Star's got, they're moving people in their right positions, as we talked about. Gross is over there at wide receiver. Carice Hoyt's over there at going to be playing running back and the quarterback. That's the guy that Todd Rogers was like, he couldn't believe what he was seeing on tape, and he had to call up Jeff Rayburn and say, "What's the deal here? Why wasn't he playing last year?" "Oh, we were getting him ready. Apparently, this guy's the real deal. Talk to me.
Yeah, and everybody's talking about this Trey Wright kid. 49 touchdowns on the JV squad. I can do a little bit of math because you only get to play 10 games. You round up to 50. You do 50 divided by 10. I can get you 5. Yeah, that's 5 touchdowns a game that he was providing last year. If you want to go back to my Johari Window Award, I know you love when I call it back to psychology. We talk about the known knowns. Both these teams, more than just about any game this week, have the known knowns because everybody is back for Lone Star. Everybody is back for Argyle. We know what to expect, and we saw this game last year. The only thing that we really don't know what to expect is the quarterback situation for Lone Star. But Rayburn is an intelligent coach. He is somebody who has seen some good quarterbacks. Remember, Legend Bay started out over there in that program, so he got to see some good quarterbacks. And he is like, this kid, we're going to take somebody who had 5,000 yards last year, move him to running back so we can get this sophomore in as quarterback. Let's do it. I think, I have to assume that's going to be better than it was last year. Give me Lone Star to win. Again, a dogfight, but I think Lone Star with Deck and a couple of the really good defensive players are going to make that defensive play that Argyle can't. And I think that in the fourth quarter, Lone Star will pull ahead and win this game by a score.
Well, I appreciate the psychology stuff you bring to the table, Diggs. I feel like every time we leave this podcast, you leave a lot dumber from talking to me, but I always leave a lot smarter. So you're something else. What a genius.
Are you going to talk to your kids about the Johari window tonight?
I am, and I'm going to act like I learned it in college, which I didn't, but I'm going to tell them I did.
Okay, kids, we got the Johari window, and you got the known knowns, and your known knowns are going to be doing this chore, and this chore. But what you don't know are the chores I'm going to have for you next week because Diggs talked about the Johari window. Here's his number. You can call him about it.
I'm going to mess that whole thing up, and I'm going to wind up doing all the chores myself because I'll jack it up so much. All right, Coppell and Saxe, they got hit with graduation for some of their main stars. One went down to Texas, the other went down to Baylor from Coppell. What do we think we have left? You talked about the Coppell new quarterback with the cool name in our district breakdowns. Do you think he heads up to Garland and handles his business against Saxe?
The more people are chattering about District 5, 6A, the more how disrespectful can y'all be to Coach Wiley? What does he have to do to earn some respect here? Yeah, they graduate 18 or 19 players, but I mean, why do you think that he turned that culture into a team that wasn't winning, that had the talent and wasn't winning? He got in there. He turned that thing around. He got the talent winning. He's got a D1 quarterback who is just as interested in him as they were in Eddie. He's got players coming back. Why are people so disrespectful of Coppell? I am shocked. I'm flabbergasted. I'm flummoxed, Ward, at the disrespect about Coppell this year. I think Coppell is not only going to go to Saxe, but they're going to make a statement to let all of those 5, 6A doubters. You can even clip this because this is one of those things you can clip. That they're going to go, Coach Behrens, I'm sorry, Coach Behrens, you have a very angry Coppell squad coming to your backyard who is going to sit and let you know what Coppell 2025, 2026, and 2026, 2027 are going to look like. Coppell by 4 scores.
They're going to get their respect in this lifetime or the next. I know that much.
Put some respect on Coach Wiley's name.
Do something. Or that big offensive line coach that scares the bejesus out of me every time I see him. That is a big man. All right, let's move on to Jesuit against Hebron. If we're going by scrimmages, Hebron probably will get bombed because I don't even think they scored against Duncanville in the scrimmage. But,
that's not fair. Ward.
I know it's not fair, especially since Duncanville has no non-district games. They have to do everything in that thing. But talk to me about Jesuit and Hebron. This game is at Jesuit? No, it's at Hebron this year, right?
Hebron. If I remember right, this shows you how much research. I think Jesuit won this game last year, and I was surprised if I remember right. And we know nothing about Jesuit. It's like, and then Hebron 2 weeks later they beat Lancaster, and we're like, I don't know what the world is anymore with that. Hebron is a slow starter traditionally, and Jesuit, because of Coach Hickman and what he does, they're going to be ready to play in this game. And Hebron's got some young kids who are going to have to step up. But what they have coming back, the known knowns, that's my theory for today. We're going to have to call this the Johari Window podcast, I think should be enough to combat Jesuit's unknowns at this point. This is why I love week one, because this could go either way and we could look like idiots at the end of the day, because Jesuit could roll into Hebron and win this game by 3 scores, or Hebron may win this game 48-3. And we're just like, what's wrong with Jesuit? But Hebron has got so much frontline talent, but we've heard nothing from Jesuit yet. It's like Jesuit we're trusting the culture. We're trusting Coach Hickman in giving them the benefit of the doubt to give them that number 2 spot in the district.
We didn't do that for Coppell, but we're doing it for Jesuit. No, I mean, you are, but I'm saying that average.
Yeah, other people.
Right. Other people aren't doing that for Coppell, but we're doing it for Jesuit.
Yes. You're right, and we should do it for both. And I think Jesuit's going to give us that tough game, but Hebron should win this game by 2 scores from what I know about both teams.
Right. Well, that brings up an interesting fact in this Midlothian Cedar Hill. I mean, as much as we've given our stuff to Jesuit and Coppell, because what they've done over the years, Cedar Hill has fallen into almost an afterthought now, especially in 11-6A. But even in this game, they're playing a 5A team, and I don't even know if they can beat Midlothian at this point. What do you think in this game?
But they won this game last year, and pretty convincingly.
Yep.
So now it's at Midlothian. There are a lot of questions
because this is not really a 5A versus 6A, because Cedar Hills are going to be dropping down next year, so they're evening up a little bit in numbers.
Little 5A D1 preview. I could see these being district bunkmates next year.
They're right next door.
If Cedar Hill doesn't opt up like DeSoto does. And I don't know why those teams in that area feel like, we got to prove something to ourselves. Go where your enrollment goes. I mean, I don't. What is DeSoto going to get out of it? I mean, they got faulted last year by Longview for their decision to go there. But, I feel like they cost themselves an opportunity to win a state championship last year because of that decision. So I hope that Cedar Hill, if you fall into the 5A Division 1, just go to 5A Division 1. Don't be too proud. Just go where your enrollment is. But I think with Cedar Hill, there are so many questions about what they have, but the depth is going to be there because they are a 6A program that has had 6A numbers in that program. And I think Cedar Hill is going to win a tough battle. I think it's going to be hard to go into Midlothian, but I like Cedar Hill by 7. I think Cedar Hill should be able to. I think their D-line is going to wreak havoc on Midlothian. It's going to be the best D-line Midlothian is going to see this year. And I think that's going to give them the opportunity because Midlothian usually has a pretty good offensive line. But can they, on week 1, get the ball out and get it down the field and maybe take advantage of that triple option offense against Cedar Hill? I just think when it comes to matchup, Cedar Hill has a better matchup in this game. So I like Cedar Hill.
That might be a good matchup. They end up matching up against each other. Noah Best against Jalen Brewster. That could be a nice little battle. There's some D1 studs. All right, this next game is, you just talked about it at the beginning. This is a sneaky game because we really don't talk about private schools against public schools, but when you see Liberty Christian, because remember Liberty Christian took on Decatur. I remember they were playing Decatur this year. They took on all comers, while most of the private schools are playing other private school teams. Jason Witten's got his team. He's got Cooper Witten on us as a junior linebacker. They're going up to damn near Oklahoma to face Anna. It's going to be a heck of a battle.
County.
It's going to be a heck of a...
Don't give me that Texoma BS.
It took me a long time to get up there, but I'm glad I made it that one time against Lovejoy. Whew, that was a doozy game. Am I right, Alonzo? Comment on this. Oh, wait, you can't do it. Anyway, tell me about this one.
If I remember right, I think Argyle Liberty scrimmaged against Salina. So they're clearly saying, bring us a smoke. We want to play some really good teams because now, it seemed for years the private school name, all you needed to know about in private school is Parish Episcopal. Right. And now Coach Witten has made it Argyle Liberty Christian the team to beat in the highest division of TAPS. And now they're like saying, okay, let's take on some of the best schools of our size, which is 5A Division II. And Anna just seems like, they got the 8 to 10 D1 guys. We know about Zy Andre. There are some questions at running back. We know about their linebacker, Peyton Miller, the really talented offensive lineman, the wide receivers, Ace Trailer.
The Pettijohns, apparently.
Yeah, the Pettijohns. I just feel like they have a little bit more depth from 1 to 15 than Liberty Christian's going to have. Liberty Christian's frontline players are going to be able to play, but I think Anna's just going to wear them down. It's going to be a shootout, but I think Anna's going to win like a 49-42 kind of a game.
That should be good because I got a D1 quarterback too, and Quinn Murphy over there at Liberty Christian Baylor commit. All right, let's head on down to our Country Roads game of the week.
Country Roads.
Stephenville against Midlothian Heritage. Tell me about this one. That Midlothian Heritage didn't finish your song, for God's sakes. Go ahead.
To the place I belong. Stephenville wins another one over Midlothian Heritage by 2 scores.
He gave it to us in a song. How about that? He did that in sing-song
format.
Clip
that there. Clip that for the world.
Clip it. He's singing songs on who's going to win. Is that all the analysis we're going to get? Or are you going to give us some more?
Midlothian Heritage started so bad last year. What makes me think that they're going to start better this year? I think they're, they get Argyle next week. I think Midlothian Heritage is going to have to work their way into their district. But, last year was an underwhelming year in retrospect. And, from the beginning and even the way they ended the season against Marshall, I think they looked better than they were because of their district. But looking at what they have coming back, I don't see the talent, but Stephenville shows me enough. I don't see how Midlothian is 5 scores better than they were last year to be able to overcome that. I think it's very similar to what it was last year, but I think Stephenville's not as good as they were last year. I think Midlothian Heritage is better than they were last year, but it's not enough to overcome that deficit. Stephenville by 2 scores.
2 scores. All right, they made up 3 touchdowns. All right, we're playing for a boot. A little rivalry game to start the season off. I like rivalry games to start the season, to be honest with you. Burleson against Centennial, down there at Burleson ISD Stadium. Tell me about this one. We're playing for the boot.
This just has the feel to me of an upset pick because, Burleson Centennial changed their offense last year to get Jacob Torres the ball and Damian Long and some of their really good talent to get them the ball. They were the triple option. It was Midlothian, Burleson Centennial, our guys that could play these 2-hour games for the longest time. And Burleson Centennial kind of, in my head, they kind of sold out a little bit. And Burleson last year got better. They got the new coach over there and they got better in a really tough district. I think this is an upset, and I think Burleson is going to win in an upset just because I don't know what Burleson Centennial is anymore. But Burleson, they know exactly who they are. Give me the Elks to win shocker, a week 1 shocker over what many people have thought is the big brother over Burleson Centennial. Burleson's going to say, not so much,
no, sir. No, sir. All right, talked about another one that was in the battle for game of the week, but we decided to go with the Lone Star Argyle game. Denton Guyer heading up to Aledo. I got Denton Guyer looks like a favorite to me in this one, but it said that should be if this was a district game, maybe Guyer would stop their Aledo streak there, but it's not. Another Denton team's going to have to do that if they want to. But tell me about this one.
And last week I was at Highlander watching my beautiful Panthers play some Highland Park ball, and I got this very panicked text message, and it said, in all caps, Aledo is not winning state this year! Exclamation point, exclamation point. I won't call out the person who said it, but I'm like, what's going on, my friend? What are you doing? Like, the quarterback situation here is abysmal. We don't got anything going on over here. Like, we need, I didn't realize losing Gavin Beard was going to be so bad for us. And I'm like, you're overreacting. Calm down. Y'all are going to be fine. But are they going to be fine Friday? I don't know. If this is something that they're going to have to work into, if this is something that's going to have to develop, I'm hearing this may be, at least from what the scrimmage looks like, the worst looking quarterback situation. And still, there are going to be a lot of 99% of teams would trade with Aledo to get their quarterback situation. I'm not dissing on Aledo. For the standard that Aledo has set, what they are expecting, the quarterback situation from an Aledo observer is worrisome because they have such a high expectation of that position. With Denton Guyer, with that defense, with that depth, I don't like that worry. Give me Denton Guyer. I mean, that defense for Aledo is going to be so good, and they're going to make some problems for Denton Guyer. But Denton Guyer, I think, is going to make some more problems. Kind of like that Rockwall game last year that we kind of joked about, 31-28. Like, how is that a halftime score? Right. I think this is going to look like that. But I think the defenses are going to show out in a way. But I think Denton Guyer's just got a little bit more.
Interesting. Yeah, see, I was talking to people up there midsummer, and they're comparing this quarterback to a Bishop. It reminds me of a Bishop. He can run, he can pass, he can do everything. And remember, not yet. Remember, Caden Finley, you throw a short pass, and he can take it a long way.
And if I'm completely wrong about that, it's my Aledo. So I'm just telling you what they tell me. I get the text messages. I'm just relaying. I can't be everywhere, guys. I can only be at Plano East games and one other game. That's all, all I can do.
That's all he can do. That's all he can do in this world. Donnie Bosco coming down to Melissa to take on the Melissa Cardinals, who are getting ready. They're going to jump up as well in the next realignment. So let's take on some of these big boy teams. I have a feeling Don Bosco is coming down to see what a big-time Texas stadium looks like. Your thoughts on this one, and I want an in-depth analysis on Don Bosco's nose guard.
I know you did research for this for the TV show, right, Ward? Come on, bail me out.
Sure.
On Don Bosco. What? They're going to win. I mean, like we saw last year, Melissa didn't even beat Parkview Little Rock. I don't know why Melissa's bringing in these national powerhouses to show off their beautiful stadium. It is like the Stand Up to Pediatric Cancer thing, which is a fantastic cause. But man, Melissa, got to quit over scheduling.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
Scheduling your weight class.
Good grief, that's going to be a tough one. And let's kind of finish it out here with Arlington Heights and Everman. This is going to be an interesting game as well. Everman's in that hodgepodge district, so might as well play something close to home right off in the non-district because you ain't in the district.
Yeah, historically, this has been a really fun game over the last 3 to 5 years. At times, there have been some blowouts in this series, but it just doesn't seem like Everman, I mean, it's a steps team. So this is like, kind of like it's just a team you follow because it's steps team. And right. Everman 20 years ago are winning state championships, like they're going to the Alamo Dome and so much great pedigree at Everman. And they've fallen on some hard times, but you don't think that's going to last. You feel like at any point they're going to get another class rolling through there and they're going to at least get back into the playoff. But they need a better realignment. I mean, it's not going to be this year. But I think they can take steps like Burleson did last year. Burleson, even though they didn't make the playoffs, you could see them taking the steps within their district. And the way that the games were competitive, the way they were playing, they didn't get 59-7 like some of the other teams in that district did, like Grapevine. So I think Everman is going to be a pesky task for Arlington Heights, but I think Arlington Heights is still going to win this game by 2 scores. But I think they're going to have to pull away in the fourth quarter as opposed to just staying out and holding them back. I think Everman is going, especially week 1, they're going to be a pain for them. But Arlington Heights, the James triplets and all the brothers out there, I just think they're going to have too much talent. But this is one of those games where Everman could introduce themselves to us as being that, could be taking a step forward with Burleson. And again, I don't see playoff roads with the Mansfield schools in Argyle, but Seguin could take a step back, so they could easily, Burleson or Everman could get up to a number 5 spot.
True. That's a look at the key week 1 games, man. I can't wait to get out to mine. I'm actually going to go check out Reedy and Lake Ridge to start off on Thursday, see what Felix is all about on the offensive line. I'm going to see South.
Well, you didn't like what you saw out of Reedy on Thursday.
No, I don't know if the coaches liked too much what they saw either. But
the parents didn't either. So
we'll have to see what happens there. And then Friday, I'm going to be at South Oak Cliff and North Shore, a little 2 birds, 1 stone matchup for both of my shows. And then we'll meet up in the Star for Permian and Plano. But we also have to talk about our high school fantasy. We're bringing it back up. This always puts a smile on your face, especially since I believe the record was 7-4 last year. I had to eke out just 4 wins, and I barely got those 4, to be honest with you. And week 1, when we do this, as you mentioned way back an hour ago when we started this thing, we don't really know what people have. So we got to play the favorites. We got to get the DJ to play the favorites. And that's what we're doing here. We'll start off with the quarterbacks this week 1. Diggsy's going to go with Legend Bay from North Forney. I'm going to go with Angelo Rinda at South Lake Carroll. You're going to obviously get the double because he's supposed to be passing a little bit more this year in Bay. So you're going to get a little double doozy there. I can see 300 some points for you on that joint. I'm getting Rinda just because I feel like he's going to throw through the air a lot, but he's not going to get me those running yards. So I'm already behind right off the bat. Just what can I do?
But perfect game against Skyline for me. I think that you're going to get a lot of yards early. I think looking at the analysis of you, Renda may be sitting in the second half just because, Southlake gets up on Midland and takes care of business. So I think North Forney is going to be a big favorite over Skyline, but I think because North Forney is so concerned about that game next week against Plano East that they're going to give a little bit of a statement. They're going to give a little bit of extra juice for this. And now that Coach Shavers knows that Legend Bay is the fantasy guy, I think I'm going to see 500 total yards this week.
Well, Riley Dodge knows this. I think he's going to see 400 yards passing.
I think he's only going to give you 320 and pull him. Riley Dodge is a Diggs guy. He's a Diggs guy.
He's never been a Diggs guy.
He's going to get the back.
Running backs. We got to figure out running backs. You have Carice Hoyt, and I will tell you there's a caveat if he doesn't play running back for some reason, which he will. You're going to go with Javian Osborne. But that's all hearsay because he is. I'm going with JT Harris because he's going down to Houston, and I don't think the straight Jesuits going to even know what hit him with the line. They're going to be thinking about their guy, Johnny Hebert, who now everybody's looking at to stop, and they're going to get themselves in such a hole here that we won't have to worry about throwing too much there for Trinity, and that's where I get my 250, and you're going to be in a game where they're probably going to have to start passing here. They ain't going to deal with the running, so you'll get 100. And I'm back in the game.
But, a couple of things to kind of consider, and we do have to do the caveat because it wouldn't be fair if I put Legend Bay at running back or something. We got to stick with the positions. Our guess is at Carice Hoyt right now because we haven't seen a game. Trey Wright's name has not shown up on any varsity box score, so we just can't 100% know until they go out there. Right. Maybe they want to, save him for week 2 or whatever, and let's let Carice play with his one game and let him get his varsity letter as quarterback, get some film on him, and then so we just don't know what Coach Rayburn is going to do. But what I bet you could see is a little trickeration where maybe he throws a pass in a situation. So I think I have an opportunity to get quarterback yards, even if his primary position is running back. Or he might do some wildcat positions and run the ball out of the quarterback position for big yards. So I think I can match your JT Harris. And Trinity loves running 3-4 guys. I know we saw Josh Bell last year get a lot of big yardage days. But at times you saw JT Harris. At times you saw the third string running back, the fullback. So Trinity may spread it around for strict Jesuits. So
we'll have to see.
I feel good about Carice.
You always like to double up on guys, don't you? Boy, I've about had it with you already. We're in week 1. All right, receiver-wise, Brock Boyd, you're picking from South Lake Carroll. I'm going with Cohen Brown, Waxahachie in that big Battle of 287 game that you think should not even be played anymore. But they are going to play it, and the Wax boys are going to have that Jerry Meyer to Cohen Brown coming in. Maybe I should have took Meyer as the quarterback. They're just going to air it out like crazy. I could have doubled up there. You just told me Boyd will be sitting by midway through the first quarter, but maybe now that you're a Dodge guy, he'll pull it in there and leave him out there.
He'll leave him out there for the backup quarterback,
right?
Because
exactly.
you got to develop that chemistry. But you got to play the hits in week 1, and I'm not wishing any injury on anybody by any means, but people get hurt. Unfortunately, it's a reality of football. So you can't save players for a rainy day. You got to get them in. Brock Boyd is him. He's that guy. I want to get him week 1. I want to let him show out, and I think he's going to have a big performance. I think your guy's going to have a big performance as well. But again, he's going to have the same problem that Brock would have. That if Waxahachie gets up big, you got to play the younger kids for Waxahachie, so that could be an issue with
a rivalry game. They really want to stick it to him. By the way, I was thinking about picking a legend for quarterback as well. Legend how, because they're going to go to Georgia, play the team that they beat 70-0, and maybe he gets 5 touchdowns in the first quarter and sits down. But I was like, I don't know if we'll ever find that box score anywhere. We won't know if we can justify it all up. So we got some good picks. Digging for Wisdom. We did it week 1. Do not forget, please do not forget to watch the Friday night recap. That's Friday night, 11:30 on all our social media. That's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitters, all of it. X, whatever you want to call it.
At IHSS DFW, no underscore or anything for the Instagram. At Professor Diggs, Instagram and Twitter. I'm trying to increase my Instagram profile. Come join us. I'll take pictures of food or something. The press box Diggs, if you will. But yeah, Thursday I'll be up at Forney and Lake Highlands. I'll be with you on Saturday. Friday, Plano East Roy City. It's football season. Both of us triple headers, 3 games, Thursday through Saturday. Got the scoreboard show on Friday night. It is going to be fun. And next week, we're going to tell you about everything we got wrong. I might have a new psychology concept for you as well. You never know. Maybe a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I'm going to go see if I can fit my hats on my head anymore because my head's just gotten a lot bigger knowing the knowledge that Diggs has given me throughout this whole thing. He beguessed me or behest. What was the word you used?
Behest.
Yeah, whatever that means. I got to look that one up.
And let me I wanted to mention
some more things.
I wanted to mention this earlier, and I forgot it. It's kind of a good ending. If you've stuck with us, Ward and I love when you come up and introduce yourselves to us. Yeah. I know both of us have had that the last couple of weeks. Thank you for that. We love it. Please come say hello. Even if I'm shy, so Ward will come up and talk to you. If he even sees an eye on your hat, thinking you got an Inside High School Sports hat on, he's going to come talk to you. I'm a little bit. I know it seems weird. This personality. I'm a little bit shy, but anytime you see us, come say hi. It makes my heart happy. I know it makes Ward happy. So always come say hi. We love it.
We do love that, man. Let us know you're watching this thing, man. We love doing it. All right, Diggs, I will see you out on the football fields, out in the press boxes, out in the sidelines, and we'll be back at it again next week.
See you next week, Ward.